Hello and welcome to this new lesson on customizing the Service Desk application in PowerApps, where we will correct errors. We had previously seen that at the time of saving the application, errors were generated in relation to the original application contained in the PowerApps model within Office 365. And so now we're going to correct these errors and write this exact bit of code so that the application can really work. Obviously, we will have to do this for both versions, the iPhone smartphone version and the iPad tablet version. Let's start with the iPad tablet version. So we position ourselves on these points, click and choose the Edit option. At this stage, we enter the PowerApps Studio environment, where modifications are allowed and where the actual programming of the application is carried out. And once the application is opened in edit mode, we will make the corrections we were talking about a moment ago. So here we click on Ignore. As you can see, the application is correctly connected to its data source. But there are small errors to correct, which are all highlighted by these small red circles with an X inside. I want to point out that if you had to use PowerApps also to do other things, then the application in PowerApps, and composed of several screens, and even if there were no errors here, but there was one in another screen, you could still notice it by the fact that here in this doctor's stethoscope, a red dot appears. That said, let's see what errors need to be corrected. Here we position ourselves on the red dot and on this small arrow that indicates to us that we can open the part where we modify the code. And here, by clicking on Edit in the formula bar, we see that if we position ourselves here, it highlights this as an error. So here, as long as the code is not clean. Now, this is not a course on PowerApps and how to write all the PowerApps code, but we see a few small things. So in this case, and it will be the same for all the other fields, it is what will be identified inside the small box. That is to say, the idea of the ticket in this case. So this is a text. It's simply a text. It has nothing to do with the database. However, this here, what you see after this sign here, this commercial letter here, is the field from where this container should fetch. And so here, what is missing? What was skipped when we created the version of the application to customize? This text here was skipped, this point element. There you go. As you can see now, this is colored. So that means it's good. There is no more underlining. And if we look further, it came to the ticket ID, in this case 1, ticket ID 2, etc., etc. Let's see this on a larger scale. Here is ticket ID 1, 2, 3, etc. Then we close and we'll also correct the other errors. So in the same way, modify this point element in the formula bar, and this is also correct. We close. We go here, here too. We put this point element in front. That is to say that this element must be taken in the field called priority in this case. We also correct this other one, and finally we correct the last one on this screen. Because there are others on another screen. So here we will say that it must draw from this point element and also on this side of this element point. There should be no point here, just this element. And so we have corrected all the errors. Here is the list of screens of this pre-compiled Office application, 365 in PowerApps. And so we need to go see, after correcting the first one, the others as well, because from here we see that there's still something wrong. So let's go see the other screens where there are other errors to correct. So we open them all. Here, there is no red point. Here, neither. So it's good. This one is also good. In this case, there is something to correct here, because as you see, there is nothing written here, whereas there should be something written. Because the data in the Excel table exists, so that means it is not retrieving them. What is the name of this Excel table from which this entire screen comes? Type of account name. So that means here, in front of type of account name, as before, it should be written this item point, and we have corrected this error. Let's go to the next screen. Here too, there's the same type of error. So here, we need to write, go to the field where it retrieves the data. Write this item point. And then we have the last screen. The last screen is correct, as it is the one for ticket insertion. So here, there is no red dot. And this one is correct. I left for the end the correction of two apparently invisible errors, because as you see here in the stethoscope, there are no more red dots. And so it seems that everything is fine here. But on the main screen, I see here that there are no fields related to the title and the description that should appear, because I know they exist. And obviously, when I have designed an application, I know these fields exist and I don't see them. And so I have to find out what these two fields are. So if I position myself here, I see that they are in this rectangle here. So these are the fields that I see. If I go further down, I see this. There, this is one of the fields that I don't see. And so here too, in front, I will write this element. And now I see the description of this ticket. I will do the same for the title, for the subject of this ticket, this article. And now I also see the title. So now we can say that really all the errors have been corrected, and therefore all the fields are perfectly connected to the data source of the Excel sheet that we have seen. Now we will correct the same identical errors in the application version for the smartphone and the iPhone, which will be exactly identical in sync to those we have just corrected. So we reposition ourselves on the 3 points, click, choose Edit, and also, in this case, enter the PowerApps Studio environment, which will give us the possibility to correct these errors. As we did previously, in relation to the version of the application for the tablet and for the iPad. So as soon as it opens, very quickly, we will correct the errors. Even, in this case, we click on Ignore. We go to the screenshots. This is only a part of the screen that we see, with more objects. And so in this part, there is no error. Let's go the other one. Here it is. There are the same errors as before. So let's go to A. We need to take exactly the point to modify it here. This article point we can also copy, paste, copy. We paste it here. And it's done. We paste it here, and it's done the same way. We do the same thing here. We do in these other two last description fields the subject, and this screen has been repaired. Let's go to the others. Here, there is no error. Here, there is an error. Always this article, the same, this article. Let's go to the other screen. Same error. We don't know this article, not this screen. It's going well here. There is an error. This article in front of the name of the table. And also here, the last error has been corrected, and we have corrected it. This too, I point out to you that here now, in the doctor's stethoscope, there is no longer the little red dot. So this means that here, inside, there is no longer an error. And this version of the application for the smartphone and the iPhone has also been corrected and is currently functioning correctly with the data from the data source. From this data source of the Excel sheet, once completed, the modification operations are on this version for the tablet and the iPad. Who on 7 for the smartphone and the iPhone? Let's not forget to click on File and then save the changes we have made if we had to. Close immediately the working environment, keeping in mind that anyway, PowerApps, every 2 minutes by default, saves the changes that we have made. To conclude this lesson, let's do a quick test on the proper functioning of the two applications to see especially if they are synchronized. So that tomorrow, when they are used by the company's employees, the employees can find the data absolutely up to date, in the sense that even if they are made from the smartphone iPhone application version, they can be transferred immediately because the origin of the data, as we have seen, is the same, even on the tablet and iPad version. So we enter the mode of using the application with this arrow here at the top. And so we are going to modify a ticket. We modify the subject here. We write repair of the installation. In the air-conditioned area, and in the notes, we put that it is New York 74. Street number 55, and that it is a hotel. With guests. So let's say save hotel. With guests, we will tell them also that the priority is high. The hotel needs immediately of the repair. Here. If now we go to the application in the smartphone, an iPhone version. Here too we enter edit mode. Let's click here. Update, obviously the update. The speed of the update will depend on the speed of the internet connection. Mine does not seem at the moment very fast. Let's wait a moment and we will see the modifications that we have made since the version. Tablets and iPads, we will obviously find them here as well. So here too, we switch to usage mode. we are going to all the tickets. Here it is. Repair Air Conditioning System, New York, 74th Street, number 55. Hotel with guests. Here it is. Both applications, so they are perfectly synchronized. We can therefore say that all our operations, all the objectives that we had set for ourselves, have been achieved without damage that we reach.